from my eyes. In times when the storms and the tides of can't make nobody come between us. Oh, cherry baby, Patrice, sing.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, don't you know I'm in need of you?
Of you.
If you don't believe it's true,
Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, skanking sweet. Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me.
月圆风般吹散沉香，江南气烟上。
Heights. One of them managed to escape and was shot to death. 2 others haven't come out yet. Probably, Prince Chin has killed them.
Good.
You're my real father?
Your mother was Lady Tianxin. She was my wife before. You're from the Poison Clan.
Child, stay calm. I have a pill here. Take it and you won't feel as much pain. Is that better? For so many years before, I tried everything I could think of. I finally got rid of the late queen. I worked so hard to become the most favored consort.
月圆风般吹散沉香，江南气烟上。这一回当归入药汤。
Na usisahau yale yake ni mibwa kujidunga.
Kid, you are not serious. Hata mimi sijafikiria wewe utazungumza maneno kama hayo.
Wamaanisha Zara amefanyiziwa. Sasa wewe yule alivyo na mdomo kama kunguru, wafikiri atakajinyamaza hivi vibure bila sababu.
Anything you want to tell me? Please, just put it down here. Sasa. Okay, here you go. Ende.
Wewe ukiacha kuona wewe labda utapumzika. Maana ilipo ninalokutafuna.
Bibi, mamangu ananivuka mpaka.
Mamako anajisahau.
KBC, get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke, call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
The 17th day of August it is. Good morning and welcome to KBC Newscheck, and today we will be tackling a variety of issues. But before then, this show is specifically designed to ensure that you are kept afloat on the latest happening in the country, and perhaps to touch just a few of some of the things we expect today. You do remember the 2 Kyanjokoma brothers in the Embu County, number 14. The police officers who are held in connection to that murder are expected in court today. That is after the Director of Public Prosecutions, Nudin Haji, approved prosecution for the officer. So that is something that we will be keeping our eyes peeled. And of course, you do know that the political drumbeats are slowly but surely gaining pace and sound. The One Kenya Alliance are currently meeting in Naivasha, and we expect them, of course, to issue a statement. We have our team on the ground to ensure that you are also kept afloat on the latest happening in the political world. My name is Njue. Welcome. In the first hour, we will be discussing matters learning And not just learning, e-learning, and when it comes, and especially to examinations, and on the second hour, we'll be having a bigger heart. How are we dealing with the vulnerable groups? Because the COVID-19 pandemic has not made it any easier for each and everyone. But you do remember, Kenyans for Kenyans. Kenyans always have a big heart. And we will be having someone also who has and have been having a big heart for years now, and he'll be telling us some of the efforts that he is doing to ensure that he alleviates the suffering of these groups. That is basically what we'll be tackling today, and of course what will be happening in the country. We'll be making sure that you are in the know. So welcome. So education is one of the key pillars in any economy or any country, but the COVID-19 pandemic did not spare that as well. So other university or many university resulted into offering e-learning to ensure that learning continues. And joining me on set now, we have the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa, mostly or commonly known as MUA, Professor Washington Okeyo. Karibu sana, Prof.
Thank you very much.
And perhaps to kick us off, kindly something little about MUA and what you've been able to do to perhaps be afloat in the COVID-19 pandemic era.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to give a big thank you to KBC for giving us this opportunity to come here as MUA, specifically myself, as the Vice Chancellor of the university, to talk a little bit about the university and also what we do at the university. As you have said rightly, my name is Professor Washington Okeyo. I'm an Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I'm the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa. Management University of Africa came into being over 11 years ago and has been focusing in the areas of leadership and management, and also innovation and entrepreneurship for those many years. Management University of Africa was started by the Kenya Institute of Management, a well-known membership organization in this country.
The famous KIM.
The famous KIM, exactly, also known as KIM. Yeah, and it's still there and has quite a number of presence in literally all the towns. KIM has got a number of presence in all the towns in this country, ranging from Nairobi, of course, Mombasa, Kisumu, and several others. And apart from membership, KIM also offers training and academic education up to diploma level in various fields, including the fields of management, leadership, marketing, and other areas. So KIM is basically the sponsor of our university, the Management University of Africa. Now, in terms of academic programs, the Management University of Africa, we have programs at various levels. We have programs at certificate level, at diploma level, at degree level, that is undergraduate, at master's level, and also at PhD level. Our PhD programs, we have PhD in management and leadership. We also have PhD in business administration. At master's level, we have master's programs in areas like management and leadership, also BCom, sorry, not BCom, but business administration and development studies. And similarly, we have undergraduate programs in the three areas, that is management and leadership, Bachelor of Commerce, and also Bachelor of Arts in Development Studies. So the university has two campuses. We have our main campus, which we recently developed in Kajiado County, in a place called Kisaju. And we also have a sister campus here in Nairobi, in South Sea. Now, the university admits all students from all levels, but we categorize them into two. We have the government-sponsored students who are placed into our university by the government of Kenya. And this is important. The government of Kenya, through the agency that is charged with the responsibility of placing students to universities, that is KUCCPS, or famously known as KUPS, today has released from 6:30 in the morning the placements, the student placements, and how they have been placed into various universities. So I want to urge the students who have been placed in various universities, particularly in our university, the Management University of Africa, to watch out. We are going to reach out to you students so that we can tell you where we are and how to get to us. So that come September, when you're supposed to be joining the university, then we shall have all the information. So that is the first category of our students. Then the second category is the self-sponsored students. These are students who pay their own fees, and either through their guardians, through themselves, or through the parents. So those are the categories of students that we have. In terms of learning modes, the university has, and we are going to discuss a little bit about how the specific areas that we teach our students through, but we have a number of learning modes. We have the face-to-face mode. Of course, since the COVID-19 eased a little bit, and the Ministry of Education and the government opened up the learning back to face-to-face. We are back to that. But in addition, we also have the online distance and e-learning mode, which we call ODEL, which is also very famous with our students. And ODEL system is where students learn away from the campuses, but they are in direct touch with the university through the lecturers and other facilitators who facilitate them through learning. We also have the online learning, where students are taught through online means like Zoom, like Microsoft Teams, and other means. So the university basically is well prepared and has got all the facilities that the students require to be able to gain the knowledge that they would wish to get in any area or in any field.
Indeed. Thank you for that comprehensive start. And it's a good thing you've talked about the enrollment beginning today in the morning, right? So what extent has the COVID-19 pandemic affected your institution, and especially when it comes to student enrollment that we are talking about, and of course on placement of programs?
Thank you very much, Njue, for that question. Now, the COVID-19, when it struck last year in March, it struck in a very unexpected way. Of course, it is an external force. It didn't warn anybody that it was coming. And as a result of that, the government took the necessary steps to contain the spread at that time. One of the steps that the government took was to close all the universities and stop learning, at least for some time. Now, this found when our university and other universities in general were in the middle of instructing the students and preparing them for the examinations of that semester. So we had to move very fast as a university. Although it affected the learning process, our movement to restore the situation back to normalcy or close to normalcy was in the area of looking at alternative means of how we could continue educating and teaching our students. And this meant that we had to be very innovative. We had to look for online systems, through which we could teach our students. We had to look for, other means like equipment, like hardware, like, additional basic equipment to enable us, teach our students so that they didn't miss. Obviously, when COVID-19 struck, like I said earlier, it caught everybody unawares. And the academic and learning institutions were literally the most affected because once the programs are not being taught and being delivered the way they are expected to be, then obviously the students get affected, the parents get affected, the teachers get affected, the lecturers get affected, and the whole education fraternity gets affected. And one of the effects was that students, first of all, were very skeptical about the new way of learning. Although online learning was there in the past, and even this, the online distance learning was there in the past, But it wasn't the norm. A lot of students preferred, obviously for obvious reasons, the face-to-face learning, because it is more interactive, it is more, personal, and so on and so forth. And this wasn't to be. So as a result of that, the students were taken aback. And a lot of students could not continue immediately. And this affected the presence and registration numbers and enrollment numbers, in the universities, and in particular our university. However, the situation kind of moved to a little bit of normalcy as people began to realize that COVID-19 wasn't going to go away any sooner. Yeah, that it was going to stay. So the students who had not postponed their registration started coming back the semester after the COVID-19, particularly in the third semester of last year. So they started coming back. And since that time, we have seen an increase in student enrollment. Numbers have gone up, almost back to normalcy. Quite a number of students are still used to face-to-face, and a number of them are coming to the university physically. However, there are some of them who now prefer, instead of coming to the university physically, and of course the advantages of online learning, they prefer to do the online learning instead of coming to the university physically.
And still on the same,
yes.
While you're at it, we've seen some universities, case in point, Nairobi University has scaled down some of operations to ensure that they conform because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Have you also resorted to the same?
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. The situation in Njue, our university, is slightly different. In fact, when people ask me that question, and I've been asked that question before, my response is the University of Nairobi, those bigger universities, are actually now following the model that our university has been using all along.
How is that?
Our model has been based on a very lean sort of structure, almost flat structure. We have what is recommended by the Commission, and by the way, all the universities in Kenya are regulated by the Commission for University Education. So in terms of staffing ratios, in terms of academic offices, in terms of programs, all these are accredited and approved by the Commission for University Education. But then you can scale them down to as lean as possible, as long as you don't compromise on the standards of delivering the academic programs. So we've had a very lean system which we have operated on. And this is what the University of Nairobi is now adopting. For example, the number of vice-chancellors, not vice-chancellors, but the deputy vice-chancellors. University of Nairobi, I think, had about 4 or so. We have 1, that is vice-chancellor in charge of academics and student affairs. And the other functions are done by people not at the vice-chancellor, at the deputy vice-chancellor's level. And what that means is that we save quite a bit in terms of costs.
Yes.
And in terms of decision making, it is very, very fast because you are dealing with a very, very lean staff.
And still on the same, I do remember University of Nairobi students had staged a protest because of hiked fees. Have you hiked your fees at MUA?
No, we have not increased our fees as at MUA. Our fees is still exactly the same. Our fee structure is what we have been, our students have been paying for the last several years now. We have actually not changed, and we have had no reason to change because there are ways of reducing the costs of running a university. So we reduce the costs in terms of looking for services, for example, the goods that we purchase for supporting our students. We go on a tender basis and we find out who is the cheapest provider in the market, and that is what we go by. So, and that means that we save a lot in terms of costs, since we only go for the cheapest and but then the most the most effective.
E-learning and of course when it comes to examining is the same thing, but we do know that when examinations are conducted face-to-face, a lot of people tend to believe there is a lot of integrity in those examinations. But now we are talking about electronic examinations. How do you, or what measures have you put in place to ensure that there is still integrity and trust in the examination process?
Yes, the examination process is a long process. And when we talk about examinations, a lot of people seem to think about the final exams that the students do when they sit in 3-hour exam or 2-hour exam, and then that is what people look at it as. But the examination process starts way earlier in terms of when we are preparing the students. There is the soft part where we talk to the students about exam integrity. So that is very, very key. So whether examination is being done online or is being done through face-to-face, the students must be taught to realize that integrity is a problem. In academics, we call it, sometimes we call it plagiarism, depending on what level that you are talking about, exam theft. And we teach our students that if you plagiarize, for example, somebody else's work, or you produce somebody else's work under the guise that it is your work, that is what we call plagiarism, then there is a cost to it. The certificate that you'll get at the end of the day, if it is a degree certificate, if it is a diploma certificate, can be withdrawn if it is actually found that you compromised the examination process. So that is the training that we take our staff, our students through. But in terms of now the process of examining students, what do? We ensure that the questions that we set for examination, first of all, are questions which are which can be answered even if you had a book on that same topic. You cannot get an answer from that book directly.
Really?
Yes. How do we do this? We do this by making sure that the questions that we have are not necessarily recall questions. They are what we call recall questions, where you can ask students to recall what he was taught.
Yes.
And that is very easy.
Like we do in KCP and KCSE.
Exactly.
Yes.
Those are recall questions. At university level, the way we test, and this, of course, advances by the level of degree from bachelor's to master's to PhD.
Yes.
We set questions which are more or less application, more or less creation, more or less, we call it on the right-hand side of the Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy is a system which basically guides on how to set examination questions or how to examine a student. So that in the beginning, or the Bloom's taxonomy on the left-hand side, you have the recall questions, and then on the right-hand side, you have the application and the comprehension questions, which basically enables us to test if whatever a student learned during class, is that student able to apply it. So even if a student opens the book, he won't get the application part of it there. He cannot get it. So that starts there. And then in addition, we have trained our lecturers, to be able to set questions in a manner which will enable the students to think rather than to recall what he had been taught. Because I tell you what, that is the problem that we face right now in this part of the world. There is this technology that is coming in called artificial intelligence, or AI.
Yes.
AI, and I was discussing with some people the other day over the weekend that AI is a very good method that is coming out to save humanity, because it is going to simulate how a human being thinks, and then the robot created out of that is able to now do things the human way, and therefore the human being is just going to sit back and watch things being done for him. But who is going to benefit from that? Of course, not us in this part of the world. We are not going to benefit immediately, because we are not going to create the artificial intelligence machines. Those are going to be created out there, and then they are going to be brought here.
Yeah.
So in terms of us, it will be a question of we are using the artificial intelligence machines rather than creating them. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to take our students to the next level, to be able to think so that they can create these machines or help in the process of creating these machines. And the thinking process starts right from the teaching.
Yes.
And then it goes to the examination. So that you examine somebody, you examine the student on how well is he able to apply the knowledge that he has learned during class. Then that is the second one. Number three, we also have the the online systems themselves for examination. Okay, the online systems for examination are programmed such that they are able to create an environment to monitor the way a student is behaving at the time when the student is taking the exams. We call it a proctoring process. Okay, so the proctoring process ensures that the computer is able to monitor. For example, when I'm doing the exam here, it is checking me that I'm actually doing the exams I'm writing. Okay.
You do that?
Yes, we do that through the remote means. Now, in case I'm waking up, yeah, to go and check something else, or even if I'm turning my head that way, that machine is able to take those photographs, and then the photographs are then sent to the server, and the invigilators are able to tell that that student is doing something. If he's doing that thing so often, and then he comes back and writes, then obviously he's looking at some material there.
Yes.
Okay, because we can see the students through the technology that we have, the online examination.
And does this happen across all the programs that you have?
Yes, we do this across all the programs.
That's quite expensive, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, I think it is the way it is being done, because not all the exams take place at the same time.
Okay,
we do a number of steps in doing the exams, but even if they take place at the same time, we always make sure that we mix up the students who are doing various exams. For example, somebody doing management and leadership could be sitting close to somebody who is doing business administration, somebody who is doing a different exams. So you're monitoring different exams at the same time, and therefore the cost is leveraged in terms of the number that you are able to look at.
Okay.
Yes.
And me being an employer, what assurances can you give me as a university that this student learned the whole course virtually, while this one did it through the face-to-face education? How do you come to a level playing field that these are two legitimate degrees?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. And I think the best way to look at that question is where the world is heading now. Because, and Kenya in particular, there is the new system of education which has been introduced in this country that is called the CBC system.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, the competency-based curriculum, as it is known, or CBC, is one which is trying to give the students the opportunity to get more involved in the learning process rather than being taught. So the system works in such a way that the lecturers and the teachers engage the students. So the students do more of the learning practically rather than being taught theoretically. Concepts are introduced in the normal manner. Then after that, the students now get interactive involvement in the learning process. And that is where this system is very, very important. Because when you involve students in the learning process, then they pick up and they are able to simulate the learning process, and they are able to learn more through the practical means. Yeah.
And looking at the education system in Kenya and in many African countries and perhaps the world, looking at the play groups when the kid is around 3, 4, 5 years, to the primary school, the high school, we have socialization, we have play groups, we also have groups, discussions. But when we come to online, I'm just learning, alone in the house with my laptop. How do you ensure that there is that socialization? Because at the end of the day, if I'm in a group, a discussion group, I'm able to gain more than when I'm learning alone.
Yeah, that area has been a pretty tricky area. Although there are quite a number of ways that we as a university have managed to ensure that our students, despite being physically absent from the universities, that they still continue, with that element of socialization, albeit not to the level where an individual would like to do so. One of the ways is we advise the students to create an environment, and we simulate this by coming up with models of the environments, learning environments, which are conducive, to similar to what we have physically in the universities. Okay. Number two, we also have the psychosocial support to students when they need it. In this way, we are able to reach out to students through the counselors, through the lecturers, okay, because we have contact tracing of our students and we have their numbers and so on and so forth. So they are able to, we are able to actually talk to our students. In case a student needs a particular issue or attention in a particular issue, then we talk to the student directly. We have numbers where they can call us. We also have, counselors, a tracing system where our, administrators in the schools get in touch with the students and so on and so forth. And they know exactly what is the problem with the students. Plus, we also have our student leaders, okay, the student council of the university, which is playing a very, very important role in connecting the students and the management of the university. They also tell us that our students, and they are in this, what you call social, media platforms like WhatsApp groups and so on and so forth. And these WhatsApp groups, students share, whatever they're feeling, whatever they're going through, their experiences and so on and so forth. And then through the student leaders, these ones trick measures to try and make sure that the situation doesn't affect the students that badly. The area which has suffered quite a bit is because of lack of physical interaction. The socialization has been in terms of students being able to meet and interact face to face, either through sports or through other activities, other social activities. This has suffered. But what we have done is we have created video clips which we send to our students, basically to engage them, okay, so that they can see their fellow students doing certain activities rather than just sitting out there. But of course, it is not easy because you cannot replace that physical interaction by interaction through the social media and other media. Exactly. Yeah.
And you seem to have quite a control in terms of the COVID-19 management in your school, and these lessons that you've learned, the management because of the COVID-19, and what you have had to change because of COVID-19 in terms of how you do things in your school. Are you passing this knowledge to the students, being a management university?
Yes. Like you said rightly, COVID-19 has been a serious blot in the face of the whole world, Kenya in particular, and universities and other learning institutions. And a lot of experience has been gained as a result of this. There are both positive effects and negative effects. But either positive, whether positive or negative, it is a very, very good learning platform that we have gone through, and in the process we have gained a lot of knowledge because we have tackled a lot of things. We have managed to continue teaching our students regardless of the pandemic. We have continued examining our students, like I've said, regardless of the pandemic, and life continues. So the WHO and the Ministry of Health protocols have come in handy, and these are what have actually enabled us to continue and had very, very minimal infections, because we have our students who are staying in the hostels, and they're interacting with each other, and we haven't had cases of infections amongst our resident students, fortunately. Okay.
Indeed. Actually, that was the next question. How have you been able to manage now the disease? Because at the end of the day, you still are having face-to-face learning.
Yes.
And you haven't recorded any case whatsoever, teachers and students as well?
Exactly. I would say this is the grace of God that we haven't had this, because much as we are observing the WHO protocols, the Ministry of Health protocols of sanitizing, wearing masks, keeping social distance, and so on and so forth, and we have all those regulated in the university, implemented in the university. But sometimes I walk around the university and I find there are students who are not, wearing the masks. And I tell them, just through, interaction and, teaching, we educate them. We tell them it is for your own good and also for the good of others, that you need to be wearing these masks, that you need to keep the social distancing and the WHO protocols and so on and so forth. But importantly, we have done that in a very, very formal way. First of all, we have created regulations and rules that stop anybody who is not donning a mask, who is not wearing a mask, from entering the university. And we keep checking this at every strategic point within the university to ensure that people are observing the WHO protocols. We have also put on hand washing places in the university at strategic points, at the entrance, and various places within our 2 campuses, both here in Nairobi and in Kisaju or in Kajiado. And we ensure that water is available. We ensure that soap is available. We ensure that we have sanitizing facilities which are also placed in strategic points at the entrance to the classrooms, entrance to the auditorium, on all those public places, and so on and so forth. And the classrooms are clearly marked. Where the chair is supposed to be, where you are not supposed to sit. So that social distancing concept is being practiced practically in our university. But now, in terms of passing that knowledge, to our students and even for the future generation, we are involved in research activities. For example, the impact of COVID-19 in the education, in the country, and so on and so forth. What are the lessons learned? What are the effects, and so on and so forth. So we are doing a lot of research in the area of COVID-19 in relation to other variables. For example, leadership in terms, what can the leadership do? For example, what should the leadership in a situation where this kind of situation manifests in a different way in the future? What should the leadership do so that they prepare themselves? So we do what I would refer to as scenario planning, by looking at taking different scenarios and doing some simulations and coming up with questions and answers as to if it manifests in this particular way, then these are the answers, these are what should be done, and so on and so forth. And then we end up publishing this. Before publishing, though, we disseminate them, and in conferences, we have had conferences. For example, last year, I think in October or so, we had an international conference which was held in conjunction with some of our partners in Japan, and we had over 500 people attend the conference. This was a virtual conference, of course, and it was a very, very important conference that was attended by people from all over the world. We had people from the US, we have people from the UK, people from Japan, as I've said, Africa, and all countries. Australia was represented. So through those kind of media, we end up disseminating the knowledge that we have gathered and researched on, and the findings, so that we can also help our students learn, and not just our students, but the world at large.
So are you also having, you've mentioned some countries and perhaps partners. What are some of the partners that you are working with, and especially when it comes to exam management, to ensure that, or are you borrowing from other models from other countries to ensure that, of course, there's a lot of integrity when it comes to examinations?
Yes. We have partnerships across the globe. Like I mentioned, we have very strong partnerships in Japan. A number of Japan universities. We have the Queen University in Japan.
You have also some of their programs as well?
Yes. We have some of their programs. We also have expertise in terms of lecturers. And we have exchange programs, with our partners. I want to mention specifically Japan because it has been very, very strong. We have exchange programs where our students visit those Japanese universities and learn what is going on in their own specific disciplines, but in Japan. And then we also have Japanese students come to visit Kenya and our university, and they learn. And we also have the lecturers who teach in those Japanese universities also come to teach here in our university, and also sort of partner with us in the area of research, and so on and so forth. So in terms of teaching and examination, we have very, very strong partnerships worldwide. And even in terms of the examination system that we use, we have borrowed quite a bit from what is happening in the outside world, because the outside world, Japan, the US, and the UK, they have had these systems going on for a very long time. For us, it only came to fore mainly when we were struck by this COVID-19 surprise. But we had to go out there. But for us, it was fortunate that we already had this strong partnership, and therefore there was no lull in between the time of the COVID-19 striking and us implementing the new systems.
And you also mentioned something, although in passing, the CBC. We haven't gotten to the university. We've just started it a couple of years ago, and it has been met with both praise and criticism in equal measure. What do you think of it? And do you think the universities are ready to welcome it? Because we haven't gotten to the university level when it comes to CBC.
Yes, two things. I want to say at the onset that CBC is a very good system, and because, like I said earlier, it's going to be a game changer in this country. In this country, we have been the students have been learning they have been learning what I would call the recall sort of process, where they acquire knowledge, but then they have been very, very weak in terms of applying that knowledge. And that is where CBC is coming in to bridge that gap. Because in CBC, like I said earlier, the students are going to be directly involved in the learning process. And so that the student becomes part of the learning process, part of the teaching, rather than sitting on the other side of the blackboard. What has been happening is lecturers have been sitting on one side of the blackboard and students sitting on the other side of the blackboard. With CBC, they are all going to sit together. And the students are going to be fully engaged, so that when it comes to doing the practical aspect of whatever it is that they're learning, that is, they'll be fully engaged in that particular area. Now, the government has come up with, specific areas where, there are going to be changes in the curriculum at the onset. Okay, and I think agriculture is one of them, creative arts is another, and there are several other areas that have been documented. So in terms of preparedness of the universities and whether the universities will accept this or not, I want to say that the universities, as I said earlier, are regulated by the Commission for University Education, the government through the Commission for University Education, and the role of the Commission is to accredit university programs. Before the Commission accredits university programs, they must make sure that the programs meet certain criteria and certain guidelines and standards which they have created. And so among the guidelines and standards that are going to, that CUE, as it is known, is going to look at is how has CBC been infused or been fused into the standards and guidelines. So first of all, the standards and guidelines must be changed so that university can say that, okay, my program or my particular curriculum needs to meet a specific standard within the Commission for University Education standards and guidelines. So once that is done, then universities can then start now revising their current programs or creating new programs where the current programs do not meet the criteria required for curriculum-based for CBC. Okay, now the universities have no choice, because that the country is going. So the universities, since they have to meet the standards and guidelines that are set by the government, then they have no choice. Now, there's some time difference between the time it is implemented in the primary school and then it is implemented in the high school, in the secondary school, before it comes to the university. And that timeline is actually, it is controlled by the government, because the government has set up a specific agency that is dealing with this particular system implementation. So it is those timelines that we shall go by. However, because the primary, I think it is already in grade 5 in primary, and by next year it is going to the next grade, okay, which it is going to take about 3 years, okay. So the challenge for the universities now, and of course the government must come in very, very fast, is to make sure that the timing is in tandem with the process that has already been started. so that it doesn't come to the universities very late to realize that they needed to have trained their staff, for example. They needed to have, started teaching the CBC-based, system, okay, when it is too late. So it is the government to really ring that bell. As far as the universities are concerned, we are prepared. For example, at Njue, we are offering Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Education Arts, okay, and we have education students that we teach. These education students will need to be imparted with the knowledge about CBC, okay, and so we wait for the government to come up with a curriculum. Although university education is more or less, teaching is more or less liberalized, we kind of, look at the market, what the market requires, and then we create programs, we develop programs according to the market demand. But then these programs have to be accredited or approved by the Commission for University Education. And that is where, them coming in terms of education now is very, very important.
Indeed. Prof, you bear me witness that the COVID-19 pandemic is not the only challenge that has affected or will affect the education sector as we are. So as we continue to manage it, what are some of the interventions perhaps that can be picked by government and other stakeholders to ensure that we continue learning and ensuring that there is integrity in the education process despite the challenges, including the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you very much for the question. I think it's a very broad question indeed, and there are many, many things that come into mind. One, we need to be very, very open and anticipatory in the way we think about the future. Necessarily, we need to realize that the world in which we're living, the only thing that is constant in this world is change. And because change is constant, we need to anticipate that when change comes, in what manner will it come, when will it come, and how are we prepared to live within the context of that change. And that is very important. And that is where I earlier mentioned about scenario planning. Scenario planning is a process where you anticipate situations through simulation process. And then you kind of test different, alternatives. If it manifests this way, then how will I react, and what should I do, and so on and so forth. So that is what really we need to do, both at the government level, but also at the players level. Because, for example, we are the players in the education system. So we need to be looking at where is the world moving towards. Unfortunately, in this part of the world, we are looking at a lot of times things that have already been done in the other part of the world. So basically, through scenario planning, we are able to create situations that are possible to manifest in the future. Even if it is not a pandemic, it could be some kind of other different epidemic. It could be a war situation where people are not able to, to do their things normally and so on. And we are alive to what is happening in other countries. For example, live with us now is what is happening in Afghanistan, where the Taliban has taken over.
Yes.
And therefore, they have created a lot of confusion and uncertainty in terms of what has been going on in that country. I'm not in any way suggesting that should happen in our country.
Yes.
But we need to be prepared for the eventuality, because we need to be assured that we are going to live our life the way we have planned to live it. And therefore, planning becomes very important. Anticipating different situations, coming up with alternatives of how we can, address those different situations, and then basically documenting and keep on retesting and testing. Like I said, change is the only thing that is constant, and therefore we need to be prepared, to manage that change when it happens.
Indeed, and away from the lessons, let's go back to infrastructure at MUA. What have you been able to change? Because at the end of the day, for the face-to-face learners, we have to keep the social distance, of course, the social distancing as well in other places. Have you had to readjust? We've seen some of the schools, high schools, have to make makeshift tents for perhaps some lessons or some stores or something, so as to ensure that there is social distancing. Have you experienced the same?
Yes. Now, in terms of the infrastructure, because COVID-19 has sort of chased students, most students, away from the physical environment within the campuses. That physical environment has been left more or less underutilized, so to speak. So we have a lot of room. In terms of the few students who are there, who are coming to learn face to face, they have adequate room, and we can arrange, the learning, environment in a very, very conducive way in order to observe the social distancing. And but now the most impact has been in terms of providing online learning to our students. And this has caused us to have additional infrastructure in terms of computers, hardware, in terms of also software, also in terms of additional computer servers, because as we now teach our students through online learning, the shift now goes towards reliability and availability in technology. And this means that what we had before COVID-19 struck could not be enough. So we've had to invest in additional laptops, additional desktops, additional servers, additional internet infrastructure, network cabling, and also adding a little bit more bundles, to our system.
And how has that not narrowed down to the fees? Because you earlier alluded to the fact that you haven't increased any fees as well.
Yes, like I said earlier on, we've had to do a lot of cost cutting. And one of the advantages of student learning outside is that now the services that we normally provided for the students or in the physical environment are no longer being provided. Some of them, not all of them.
Yes.
And we have saved in that specific area. And then number two, we have also negotiated packages with service providers. For example, when I talk about laptops, when I talk about desktops and servers, we have negotiated volume purchase through volume purchase agreements with our service providers, like technology providers like Computer for Schools Kenya, who are giving us and our students, incidentally, and our students laptops at very, very subsidized rates, way much lower than market rates. So in that process, we are actually we have actually bought this hardware. We have installed the software. We have created a conducive learning environment for our students, cost which is way cheaper than the market cost would be, and therefore we did not need to increase our student fees.
Of course, you've done quite something to ensure that at least the e-learning continues and continues well. Final remarks as we wind up.
Yes, thank you very much. The e-learning is first of all, let me say that the e-learning is the way to go. And it is happening in all parts of the world. And, Kenya and our university specifically should not be the ones to be left behind. And we want to encourage, students to take up online learning systems. The Commission for University Education, the regulator that accredits universities and programs, already has implemented the standards for e-learning. Okay, and this means that e-learning has now become an official mode of learning in the country and in the universities. So I want to ask the students and anybody who is interested in doing any course to embrace the e-learning process. Because in a different way, it is actually way cheaper. When students visit the campuses physically, there's quite a bit to spend in terms of accommodation, in terms of transport, in terms of time spent in traffic jams and so on when they are commuting back and forth from the offices, from their homes, to the university. So e-learning is a very, very effective way and importantly, very cost-effective way of learning. And also in terms of the future, we are going where the learning is going to be it's already student-centered, okay, as we speak, but it is going to be more enhanced with the introduction of the CBC system, competency-based, curriculum-based system. So as that takes effect, it is essential that students themselves get more absorbed and more involved in the learning process themselves, rather than waiting to be taught and then going down to do research after they have been taught. And this is where e-learning has taken us. Unfortunately, e-learning comes up with the requirements of, in terms of technology. It requires that a student has, a laptop or an Android phone or say equivalent, which can be able to access, the learning software and also, display and so on and so forth. It also requires internet. Fortunately for our university and most universities, they've actually negotiated with the service providers, internet service providers, which provide students with affordable bundles way below market rates, as long as it is being used for education purposes.
Yes.
So that is already happening, and we are very thankful to the service providers for that kind gesture. I would encourage them to continue. And there's the other side, which is the hardware itself, which I said earlier, we have already negotiated, particularly for our students, with the computer hardware providers like laptops and so on and so forth, to be able to give our students, and we give our students on a sort of a loaned basis, okay? We guarantee our students, so they are supplied in the name of the universities, then the students get them, and then they pay them, slowly. They don't have to put a bill upfront. So there are so many disadvantages of e-learning as opposed to the physical, learning. So the future is in e-learning. I would encourage people to embrace e-learning, the students, the parents alike, and everybody else who is interested in education, because that is where the future is going, and we stand to get more advantages and benefits through e-learning compared to the face-to-face learning.
Thank you so much. I couldn't have put it much better. Professor Washington Okeo, who is the Vice Chancellor of the Management University of Africa, and we were looking at e-learning, and to be more specific when it comes to offering of examination and ensuring there is integrity in those examinations. E-learning is the way to go. We have to embrace it, and especially now that we have COVID-19 pandemic, and we do not even know how or what other challenges may come in future. Well, thank you, Professor, for that. And of course, we are continuing with Newscheck on the next hour. In the next couple of minutes, we will be looking at creating hope for the disadvantaged or the vulnerable groups in the country. What is the situation? And especially now that we have COVID-19, one thing I know is that Kenyans have a big heart. And my next guest has a bigger heart. Keep it KBC. We'll be right back.
Get the VIP access to the best shows on KBC Channel 1. We have something different, something special to spice you up. Get ready for new, exciting and captivating dramas. Movies.
I love the smell.
Comedy.
I went to the Popos. Huh?
Drama.
Did he assault the Queen in my house, in my presence?
News, sports, and so much more. Do the things that make you happy on KBC Channel 1.
Quiero amarte de una forma diferente, de otro modo nunca.
Who could have thought that your love for Amaya would become your weakness?
You see, Jorge and I discovered in the video that Cesar just left 5 minutes after Max left Nescafe to go to Horacio's apartment.
Now that I am the president of the company, I will occupy my father's office.
Even if they haven't made Mr. Mauro's death official yet?
Daddy, you have no idea how afraid we were not to find you alive, but we never lost hope all this time.
To be honest, I must confess that I did. I am Florencio Martinez's son, who all believed was dead.
Cuando tengo de una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente. Respetando tu
月圆风淡吹散沉香，江南青烟上。
Heights. One of them managed to escape and was shot to death. 2 others haven't come out yet. Probably Prince China's killed them.
Good.
You're my real father?
Your mother was Lady Tianxin. She was my wife before. You're from the Poison Clan.
Child, stay calm. I have a pill here. Take it and you won't feel as much pain. Is that better?
For so many years before, I tried everything I could think of. And finally got rid of the late queen. I worked so hard to become the most favored consort.
月圆风淡吹散沉香，江南青烟上。抓一味当归入药汤。
If you don't believe it's true,
Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me. You know feel a reggae music sweet, yeah, yeah. Skanking sweet. Everybody wanna feel like free. Forget your troubles and rock with me.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email newsroom@kbc.co.ke, call 0723 892 654 or 0734 780 124.
Welcome back, and in case you just joined us, this is KBC Newscheck, and on the second hour we are switching gears to look at how we can creating hope for the disadvantaged and the vulnerable in the community. One thing I had said earlier is that one thing I know is that Kenyans have a big heart. You do remember Kenyans for Kenyans, where you could have contributed anything to ensure that the Kenyans who were starving back then had something to put on the table, and over 1 billion shillings was actually realized. But now things are a little bit tight, because looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, all the years we've never had such a pandemic that has brought down even countries' economies, and each and every sector has actually been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. But the vulnerable still remain the vulnerable. Who are looking at these people? How are they being helped? You know, if you have 10 shillings, how much are you going to give? And you also as well look at your own homestead or your own self. But there are people who are still striving to ensure that these people have something to eat, have something to drink, have somewhere to put their heads, and even can't go to school. When I'm joined by one of those persons, his name is Newton Ogada. Karibu sana Newton. At least not your first time here, and at least I've seen you're still doing exactly what you were doing even before the COVID-19 pandemic. Perhaps you can start by saying hello to the viewers and also telling us something about yourself and what you do.
First, thank you once again for accepting me in here. I want to thank the KBC for always giving me chance to speak with our people and kind of like mentoring our people on how we can do things. Again, I must say hi to all my viewers, and may you be ready because we have a lot to discuss today.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And of course, our sign language interpreter for this hour is Susan Thuku. Remember, we're still live on all our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or also on YouTube. So your suggestions, comment, or even where you are watching us from. Perhaps to kick us off, you were here the last time we were here with I think it's sometimes last year.
Last year, right.
And this is exactly what you are doing. You have an orphanage, you do help widows, you have a vocation. Perhaps you can tell us where you are now.
We're still doing the same because it's not a short-time project. It's a long-time project, I think, until we retire or we die, because we'll keep on having widows and orphans, and a lot of things will still be happening the same. So as we speak now, I'm still doing the same work, but I'm trying to improve it to be a bit wider. Because I'm trying to reach other areas that before I did not reach, and we are trying to improve and implement new projects that we were not having then. So we are still working on the same project.
Yes.
Yeah.
You operate an orphanage in Oyugis town. What is the current situation of the vulnerable, and especially when it comes to the Nyanza region?
Oh, the number is heading up almost every day.
And especially because of COVID?
Because of COVID, because we lost many people in Nyanza with COVID, and they left their children there, so they are orphans. We left some men, then they left their wives, so they are widows. So the current is not really good, because it keep on adding up. And you know, the economy is collapsing too, so even those who are doing small businesses who can actually supporting the orphans that they were left with, the economy is really bad. So it's not good. Yeah.
I remember the last time I saw the photos and videos of some of the work that you've been able to do, and looking at the new videos yesterday, and some photos, I see you've scaled it up. Despite the COVID challenge, you're scaling it up. Kindly tell us about that.
You know, we cannot stop thinking and doing things because of COVID. I think the COVID now, we have to live with it. And we have to make a move. Before COVID, I think we were kind of a bit sleeping because everything was okay. But being now we have the COVID in the country, I think all over the world, now we start thinking on other projects that we are not doing so that we can improve the lifestyle of people, and we can teach them many, many things. Like now as God will provide, we have an hospital in Oyugis, and the hospital is really working hard to support on the prevention or the cure, or the areas that we stop people not to get COVID. We are trying to teach, we are trying to train, we are trying to go to the villages and teach those who are living in the village, and sometimes we even give some health services to the people. So we are trying to enlarge our projects. Yeah.
And the last time the project that you had, I remember you are still taking in some orphans. Which is the latest program that you are currently working on?
Even I think a week ago, I took some of the orphans in because I told you it's a process of every day. We cannot stop it. But again, we start other programs like vocational training for those who actually cannot afford to go to universities, or those who came from university and they have no job. So we are trying to connect, like we want to do full education. I told you last time that I was planning to have a school. We have a school now going on where our orphans are going and other children are coming in. So we are just trying to bring in new projects, new programs at the school so that we can support then a big number. You know, before I was only having an orphanage home, but now we have a school. Those are the new projects that now we are hoping.
And the hospital, of course.
And the hospital, of course. And again, the vocational training center was not there. But now we have it. We are doing tailoring, we are doing carpentry, we are doing welding, we start the beekeeping, and a lot of things are happening.
And actually, if my director Mugo Kariuki can actually, those are some of the projects and some of the work that Newton Ogada and his orphanage and his group of workers have been able to put up. And as you can see, you've really capitalized on making sure that the orphans and the widows are taken care of. As the pictures, as we see exactly what you've done, looking at the many orphanages and looking at a lot of homes, they rely on donor funding, others rely on churches, and all those people, everyone including me and you, we've been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot has changed, but now the needs of these kids, the needs of these women, the needs of these kids who require medical attention has not changed. It's still there. Where are you getting the funding? Has the funding changed? Has the funding gone down? Have you scaled it? How have you been able to scale it up?
I think it's difficult for all organizations. But what helped me out, I've been telling people that you don't need to eat only. You need to know how to find your food. When we began the ministry, I've been having thoughts of doing something that can bring money here locally, not looking for donor funding. Like our organization, we had a lot of challenges due to COVID-19. We lost most of the supporters because they are fighting with it. Some were sick, some lost their job. I was in the state like 2 weeks ago. I stayed there for over 1 month. It was not easy as before. So because even then they are fighting to manage their lifestyle, you know. So before the COVID, I started some few projects that can bring something small to our organization. Like now, as we speak, when my children has gotten sick, like all the orphans, we have an hospital where we can take them. When they need to go to school, we have a school where we can take them. And even this school is not only for the orphans. It's a private school where other parents can bring their children and they pay school fee. The money that they're paying is helping me now to sustain the project. I can pay my teachers, I can buy food, I can do some few things for the orphans who are not paying nothing. You know, at the hospital we have patients who are coming and they are paying. It is not free. So those who are paying, the money that they are paying is supporting the other children or the other widows who cannot support themselves to pay. So that's how I plan my organization, and we are still planning to do a lot of work, a lot of things that can. What I'm trying to do is to sustain our project locally, because what if tomorrow we wake up and we found all donors were locked, they cannot send money, there's some restriction, where will we take all these children? And you know, we will never stop having the orphans, we will never stop having the widows, we will never stop having the vulnerable. So in my organization, I'm trying to bring it up in a way that we can be self-sustained without looking any fund from any other people. Again, I said here last time that if somebody helps you wake up, don't rely on going back every day. You don't fall every day so that they can wake you up. If somebody hold your hands, I think it should be once. You don't need to be hold hand every day, every morning. What if this person no longer be there? You know, which means the whole project will die. When the project died, where will you take all the children? Just imagine you took them from a family or somewhere, you brought them from in a home where there's food, there's everything, clothes, and then tomorrow there's no more. You know, so I'm trying to make my organization to be a self-sustained organization where we can work. Like now, I'm organizing to start having a home for the widows. We can find those who cannot support themselves to build. And maybe they don't have a land. So I'm trying to pick them and stay with them in those homes, in the home that we're going to build, and train them on something. So when we release them having something that they're going to do. To give something back. As I had when we had a conversation here about education, the KBC system. You know, the government thought of something better than just being in the class. Something that the child can start working on something, like if you go to maybe America, because I've been there for long, they don't put children in class all the time, but they give them, they ask a child, what do you want? So if you see your child start making some toys of a vehicle, then this guy maybe can be an engineer or something else, you know. So the CBC will help us in the future to capture the system which has been lost. Because in Kenya now, if you ask that you need degree, I don't know how many people have degree here in Kenya. And most of them are riding motorbikes and they don't have job. Because we have everything, we have all the papers, but there's no creation of job. That's why in my organization, I'm going back to the vocational training, so that even if you have the degree, you can still come back and get trained, and then tomorrow, you will still have a life to live. Yeah.
And looking at Kenyans, as I said earlier, they have a big heart. I've seen Kenyans, struggling Kenyans, helping out perhaps even celebrities who are down, as you put it. And have you seen people chipping in, other than donors and corporates or even churches, people, individuals chipping in and telling you, Ogada, you're doing a good job. I've pledged that I will do ABCD to help the vulnerable, to help the orphans or the widows?
Yes, I have. I have our good friends, good people. They say, Ogada, we have something small. However, how small it is, this is it. Some people bring their clothes, some people bring some money, some people bring us some maize. I've seen it. And actually, I appreciate that Kenyans have a big heart. The only problem that we have in Kenya that we are not well sustained in a way. We don't get enough. We are still lacking job opportunity because we don't have sections. You know, we have few things that people are using. Like we have only health, education, and maybe some few things. But if Kenya can have industries, I'm telling you, Kenya is a good country, and we have good people that will take care of many people. I'm sure. Yeah.
And after helping out, you've talked about a vocational center that will help the youths acquire skills so that they may be able to help other people. You've talked about you have plans to have a vocational center for widows. Perhaps they can then gain some skills, making soap, making baskets, making fishing nets or something, so that they may put some food on the table to make themselves sufficient. What is the end game after helping out all these people? Somebody might wonder, what is the end game yourself? What are you aiming to achieve after that?
I don't want to achieve anything, but I want everybody to see the grace of God in anything that we're doing. Because we are not here to achieve a lot, but we are here to give and to support. What I want to achieve as Newton, I want during my old age, I want a number of people who have been going through our process or our programs to achieve a way of life. And again, if we hold hands together in this, I'm telling you that the economy of the Republic of Kenya will rise from wherever it is to somewhere else. That is my aim. My aim, because if I employ, for example, if I employ 200 people and I'm paying them, which means their areas, their homes, the economy is not bad because they're getting something. And the surrounding area of wherever they are living, they are buying some stuff from other farmers or anybody, and then the economy is rising up. And again, they are not now starving. Like, we have those who are starving. I have a case like 3 days ago. I think I built that house two days ago. This lady, she's not a widow. Her husband ran away. I don't know where the husband is, and left her with 6 children. Down the line, the house fell apart long time ago. She has been sleeping in somebody's house, and the house that she has been using, the owner died long time ago. So when she came to me, I say, okay, I have to do something about this. We have such kind of people. Okay, I've built a house. What else? If she cannot learn anything, because sometimes there's some problems that can make you not to know anything, then I will go and check for the kids and pick even 2 kids and take to the school, and from there, now I have something that I can count on the family. That's my achievement.
And I'm also a Kenyan. Let's be very honest, when it comes to a noble cause that, like the one that you have, it is sometimes invaded by people who are not genuine. How do you identify genuine cases? You know, you're building houses for people. You have a hospital that also helps people who do not have money. You have an orphanage. You have a vocational center. How do you identify genuine cases?
We have a structure. Before I start anything, I work on the structure. Before I support you in anything, we have a team that will come and witness. They have to come and see if the situation is real. Because we have people that they want to cut corners.
Yes.
They can do something, but they don't do something. They want you to do for them. So what I actually do for the widows, I have an office set up, and I have a guy that is employed there. His work is to go and see if this is a genuine work. And even me, I always drive to the place. I will send my guys to go and bill. Don't think I will never step there. I will be there myself and see if at all it is the case. Because we have some people that they want to fight hard for their relatives to get something, but they can afford. So what I actually do, I will send my guys, and after that I will drive there myself and see. And I have to get the picture before and after, because even me, I don't have the money. I have to ask some people to give me the money. How will I ask somebody? How will I convince somebody to give me the money to do a project? I must have a picture to tell, and I have to write a story. So I will never ever want to write a fake story to anybody who is willing to support somebody who is suffering. So I have a structure.
And still on the same, you will find that you use your structure, but find that the number of people who require your help far much outweighs what you're able to place on the table. How do you deal with such cases? They're genuine cases. You cannot pick them because perhaps of your meager resources. How do you help these people?
Even now, as we speak, I think we have built over 800 houses now, as we speak. But the number is more than 1,000. Those who are still waiting. And I want to say God has been so faithful to us that whenever I posted or I asked somebody to help, they actually do it quick because they see the genuine part of it. Because I don't hold the money. Me as Niron, I'm doing my business. I survive from my business. Yeah, I'm doing my business doing good. It's giving me some money to support my family. So whatever little that I've been receiving from my friends, whoever supporting, has been going straight to the need. So I've been so faithful, and I've been doing things in the manner that anybody who is giving money must have a report. That makes it easy for those people to support me always. And again, you know, God answers prayers in different ways. You can come to me and I might not have money to help you, but somebody else will chip in and help. I have such kind of situations. And again, if I cannot help, it is not me. It's not that I don't have it. So you have to wait. So there's a time of waiting. Yeah.
And still, you've said that you do not handle the money, and of course, the project has to be audited because as much as there's a lot of funding from outside, as one of the genuine donors, I will want perhaps a clear record, a clear audit, so that I know my money is actually getting down or trickling down to those people who it is supposed to help. How do you ensure that the whole process is transparent?
We have our auditor. We have the auditor, the audit company, which actually audit our accounts, our books of accounts. And again, apart from that, me personally, I work. I think I sleep less than 5 hours, maybe 6. I always do my audit myself because I will never ever want a situation or a scenario where people have actually give us a lot of money and then this money is going nowhere. First, my number one is that I confirm myself that I only need a plate of food.
Allow me to interrupt you on that. We just need to cross over to the Windsor Hotel, where the CAS youth Zachary Kinudi is currently addressing a presser there on matters TVETs. Let's listen in first.
Wind turbines operators 27 to 38, commercial driver between $25 to $37 per hour, heavy equipment mechanic 25 to 36, auto body repair 22 to 34, welder will earn between 21 to 30 per hour. I hope you are doing mahesabu. Are you? 21. I'm not saying 21 shillings per hour, $21. Yes, a dollar is now going at 113. I'm not sure, but somewhere in between there. A carpenter will earn between $16 to $52 per hour. Auto mechanic 21. So that paper down there was written, enroll in a trade school. I found it in a bureau, employment bureau, and I was going to an Indian restaurant to eat some bread. Then I found that thing there, and I said, now, this is Paris, the heart of Europe. Okay, well, they say the city of love, although I didn't find it there. And I thought about my motherland. I thought about Africa. And I remembered the kind of work we have done, the kind of work that continues to be done by distinguished men, partners, and the esteemed government of the Republic of Kenya. When I received this invitation, I had somehow forgotten that this book was being written. I had somehow forgotten, but I knew it was commissioned to be written because this discussion began in my office in town. Or rather, began earlier, but was cemented in my office. Let me not take the glory that is not mine. But I had forgotten somehow because in a quick succession of things, I changed the ministry from education to now where I am, sports, culture, arts, and heritage. And when I received the call, I was in Tokyo as my sister has right to put it there, and my phone could not go through. So when I saw it finally, I called him, and then asked him to reach to George, my office manager, so that now we could plan and come. And I thought I should be here. By the way, I should not be here. I still should be in Tokyo because Olympics is over, but Paralympics are not over. The people with the PWDs are still participating in sports, in their Olympics form called I come from Ranga, so you forgive my R and L. So I thought I should come and end this culmination of a good idea which had transformed from a good to a better, to a final best idea. And I was going to be here. I'm no longer in the Ministry of Education. And to that extent, I want to say the man who switched office with me, now the CAS Education, called Honorable Nur Hassan, was supposed to be joining me here, but he's in Mombasa for another workshop, education workshop going on. So he said I should pass his message of absence with a lot of apologies. Have you accepted it? Please, thank you. So he was supposed to be with us here, but he's not going to be here. Let me say the final thing before I can speak about the book and the idea of TVET. When there was turmoil in Germany in the days of Nazi, there was a preacher man who was a Lutheran church preacher called Martin Niemöller. Martin Niemöller was a critical foe of Adolf Hitler. And in his many sermons, one that is largely and evergreen statement quoted across the world today goes this way: that when they came for the socialists, I did not speak because I was not a socialist. When they came for the trade unionist, I never spoke because I was not a trade unionist. When they came for the preachers, I could no longer remain silent. But today, I am speaking from a concentration camp, and nobody is here to speak for me. Perhaps that could be sounding ancient because that was time of war. But wars are constantly emerging in our societies, and today the wars have come into our houses. Do you have a nephew or a niece or a child who has a degree and perhaps a master's one, but is still staring at you in the house? Would you relate if you don't have one? I was speaking with a lady who works with the media yesterday, whose daughter scored A- in the March released exam. And she's waiting to go to the university. By today, she will know where she's going. But she told me her daughter has nothing to show for 844 except the grades. She can do nothing for herself. But she has an A-. So she was asking the daughter, what can we do together? What are you going to do? Some skill, because I had talked to her earlier in my former life. What are we going to do? The daughter said, Well, I don't know, you know how they talk. I can't imitate. Well, I think I can do many things, but can I try culinary skills? Yeah, that is cooking. Okay. Yeah. Can I try culinary skills? Say it, okay, if you want. Okay, well, I want to try singing. Okay, I want to try carpentry. Okay, you know, she's not settled. But I thought, if a parent would hear today a child who want to do cooking, they would hit them with whatever tool is available near. But a chef is the most paid skilled worker in the developed world. Even here in the cities of developing worlds, chefs are not cheap. Are they available? Even if you want a good chef, do you know where you can get them? Unless you come to such hotels like Windsor and ask for one to come and do your cooking. Or like our friends there. Technical skills becoming the solution to the social ills of our country. And that's why we are asking, how do we make TVET work for Kenya's development? That's a question that cannot be answered by an instant. It is a question that must be formulated with books, formulated with courses, formulated with commitment and heavy investment. And the first investment, yeah, you can take a clap if you want. It encourages one when they are speaking. Yeah. One of the ways I have asked His Excellency the President to relook into this even as he exits the office is to have a ministry on its own standing on TVET. That one is not a question we can beat the bush around. This one, as his advisor on myriad of things in government, we would want the next government to form. And perhaps the next president who is coming, not known by now, but perhaps the president who assumes power by next year, December, must start with crafting in his government or her government, most likely will be her, craft a government that has ministry on its own standing called Ministry of TVET. And you know in German it's called Ministry of Economic Development. Yes. Yeah, every government in developed world, including Canada, has a ministry on its own dealing with this. So KPA, South Korea, and you can see what is happening in South Korea, courtesy of having unified efforts in one basket to deal with this matter. Those people, the tragedy of our time, those people who have TVET courses, and those are the people we like laughing about, because when we went to Campo, they did not go to Campo. That was the pride of our time, which would end up costing us. We were happy to go to the university to pursue these fancy degrees. These people who could not qualify, in our time it was very high. If you didn't have a B+, you couldn't go to the university. Those people who could not go to the university naturally accepted their fate and went to mid-level colleges to pursue otherwise technical courses. Today, out of 10 graduates of a university and out of 10 graduates of a TVET college, the latter are more engaged than the former. Oh, all of them, Professor is correcting me, and that's a fact. Those people who have TVET courses do not sleep hungry. Those people who have degrees, most of them, as we know, and it is a sad state of affair, are roaming free, looking for a job. And somebody said here that our education system is training us how to look for a job.
Indeed, Zach Kinudia, who is the CAS for youth, and they are talking about the TVETs. And one thing I've been able to pick up is that he's talking about also advising the president. We have a technical ministry that will take care of all the TVETs, and of course you do know that TVETs majorly touch on the youth. And also something I've been able to touch on is the structure of TVETs in the country, and encouraging graduates who have already have their degrees but have not yet secured jobs to think of something that they can do when it comes to acquiring more skills. It comes fishing, anything that they can be able to do, not only their degree. Indeed, that is also part of what we are discussing with my guest, Newton Ogada, who is also a philanthropist and has also been able to set up orphanage homes, has been able to set up even a vocational center, of which I believe now is the right time for you to touch on what the CS has been talking about. You've set up a vocational training center. Can you take us through that?
Yeah, personally, I understand a bit of vocational training because I'm a carpenter myself. I can make trained. I was trained apostrophe. I can make these couches that you're sitting on, and I can make I can work on woodwork. And then my wife is good on tailoring. So we both came together and started, and that has been our business. We have been making furniture and selling, and that sustained us for all these years. And then now we thought of, we cannot do it ourselves. We need to start training many people who are just hanging around so that they can do something for their own. They can learn on something. And I'm happy the government is taking care of it. Because once I asked a question, it's a very simple question, that when you go to the president's office, he must have a chair. And who made the chair?
Yes.
You see? So we have some training that they're a must. We have to do them. And I'm proud of it. And in the next 6 months, we'll actually graduate the first lot that are already on the training. And then after that, we'll keep on going.
Exactly is the vocational center?
Exactly, yes. But I'm trying to connect with the government so that I can get a center of doing exams. Yes, we are already in the process. I went to Kisumu and applied. So I'm waiting for the certifications. From there, I will actually do exams in my vocational training center. Is it Njue? Yes.
And looking at, without even mentioning names, I've seen some of orphanages and homes have been shut down because, of course, there is no more funding, and of course the COVID-19 pandemic has not eased up on them. But you have been able to stay afloat. How have you been able to do that?
Even them, those who have been affected and closed the homes, sometimes it's difficult. You have to think a lot when you are running, because it is a non-profit organization, and they must eat and take shower and go to school and everything. So I can say God has been on my side so much. I did not lose all my supporters. I lost some, but some are still there with me. They're catching up with me. And again, I set up some things, like I said, I set up a school called God Will Provide Mission School. I think it's coming to the best school in Njue. And we had many children coming in. We registered many, a good number, and they're paying school fee. So as I said before, the money that we are receiving from this small project that we started helped me to sustain the project, because I did not want just to rely on funding coming from abroad. I've been thinking, whenever somebody give me something, I need to do something with the money, and this money will actually come back to our ministry, and then we can help out. If I talk about even the health, because most of the widows that we support, their health-wise is not favorable. Some are really sick, some are trying. We have a lot of cases the same. That's why we start the hospital, in a way that when we will be getting the NHIF, because already we applied, we're just waiting for the certification. When we will be getting the NHIF, most of people will come and get treated, and we'll get paid back. When we get paid back, that money will be enough to maintain or sustain our project. So what I can tell to our fellow colleagues that are in the same program, we need to think something better than only receiving.
And the CAS, Zakinodia, has talked about how the government is trying to help out, and especially the TVETs. And you've also said that you've seen at least the government has been able to chip in and help TVETs. Let's now talk about how the government has been able to help people like you who are helping others in the society. Have you seen that kind of help? We have cash transfer programs. We have a number of government-sponsored projects geared towards helping the vulnerable. Has that money trickled down back to institutions like yours?
What I want to say, one day I was in my house and I was watching the news. I heard the president saying something, but I think it was a bit political, but it was healthy. That for the past 5 years he was too much in politics and party issues. And these 5 years has been doing a lot. And I can concur with him that we have seen the strength of him working on various projects. We have never received anything like help coming from the government. Or else sometimes we support the government activities. Like when you treat people, that's the government activity, because the child or the human belong to the government, according to my understanding. You will realize, if I take you back a little bit about the education. We talked about the CBC. It's there. But the government is producing books for the CBC to only government school, and we don't have private child. All the children are government, are our children. In the whole country, I've never seen a private child. We all belong to Kenya. So when we want to discuss and talk about building the economy towards the TVET, let us start it from the ground. Let the Ministry of Education give the books to everybody. For example, now I'm running a private school where I have only the bigger number is the orphans. And now I cannot get the books for the CBC. Because these books are not placed anywhere in the bookshop. They are nowhere. So I have to liaise again with other schools if they have more to give me, which means I cannot have enough. How will this child get to the TVET if he cannot start from the CBC? So even though the government is trying, but we have loopholes. I think the government should work really hard on this issue of corruption. Then from there, this country will be more better than all the countries all over the world.
It's a good thing you mentioned politics in that statement, because looking at the political environment that we are in, and we are, of course, going to witness more as we head towards the 2022 general polls. Have you seen politicians, because they are always on standby, actually they're on cue always to kind of now blend with humans, blend with everyone, and also give institutions like yours money? Have you seen them starting to trickle down, or over the years have you seen that when we are gearing to the elections is when there's more funding, there's more support?
Let me tell you one thing about our politicians. I think they are still working on things to do with 1960s or 1950s, when we were still on the other arena. The ruler, the winner takes all. They are trying to blackmail, I don't know how to put it. They're trying to close our eyes with some handouts so that they get into the power. And then from there, 4 years, you will never see them back again. We don't need handouts, because I've been into the ministry for some time. I've been dealing with the humanity. I dealt with the housing. I'm dealing with health. I'm dealing with education. I'm dealing with the TVET. All these are under my docket as Newton. I'm not working with the government. But we have this money being channeled to the government institution, into the departments which they belong to. But let me tell you, we have never seen anything. We have never seen anything. We are trying to help the government to meet the goals. That is all the private sectors are doing. If we close all the private schools today, will our children fit to the public schools? No. We are trying to help the government to run. But again, those who are in the government through the political gates, they forget about, they want to make sure that we don't have nothing, like people have 0 cent in their pocket. So when they come, they can manipulate. Because if you slept yesterday without food and somebody give you 200 shillings, automatically you will vote this person in, not knowing this 200 shillings is not a help. You know, that's why I agree with the president. We have seen some good work. I can't complain. Like TVET were not there. We have seen some few things happening. But to the political leaders, I'm afraid of them, because I'm telling you, they will sink this. They will sink this country. They are going to sink it, because if I'm not in politics, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to be elected in any position politically. But if I was one, with this NGCDF money, with the connection that you can make when you're in power, then we can build up something into our constituencies, into our counties, whereby our people can earn. For example, I'm from Homa Bay County. We have the lake. God gave us the lake. He didn't give us a lot, but He gave us the lake. If you walk from Kisumu to Mbita, there is no any refrigeration working where you can catch your fish and store and sell at your price. which means we are killing the economy down there. We have the fruits. We have the mango, we have the avocado, we have the pineapple. I've never seen any factory making avocado juice. I've never seen any factory making banana bread or something. But we are all banana. So which means there's a product that we are wasting. We are not gaining anything, but we are wasting them. That's why we cannot take our children to school, because there's no money. But the money we have. So it is just, they don't want to do anything, because if I do good, then everybody will be satisfied, then I will not be elected again. That's the only problem that we have. Like even now, when we talk about 2022 election, they are telling us about the side of the president telling about restructuring the companies that will employ people. Yes, I agree with that. What has been happening for the past 20 years? They still have the same money. If you go to the other side, they are telling us bottom up, something like that. What has happened for the last 20 years? They were still the leaders. So they are just the same monkeys in the, they only change the forest.
Actually, you should be a politician. But perhaps you might one day venture into politics, because having a position in politics, perhaps you may be able to reach a lot of people more than the people that you're currently able to reach.
I can do better here.
You can do better here.
I can do better here.
No political interest whatsoever.
Because when you get into the politics, you will have your supporters, and some will not support you.
Yes.
If you have the heart that I have, how will you support those who are not supporting you to achieve the power?
Good question. Okay. When it comes to giving, Kenyans have that heart of giving. We've seen the last couple of months, Kenyans helping other Kenyans. And of course, when we have tragedies, what can you tell Kenyans in terms of giving and continuing with that heart? Because you'll find a Kenyan with the bread and you'll actually divide or halve that bread and give you a share.
What I can tell to Kenyans is that their heart is really good. For those who have been reaching out to the people, for those who have been supporting the people, their heart is really big, and I really appreciate that. What I can advise, what I can tell, let us continue doing it. We have few years to be in this world. Count on something that you did by the time you are still there, because there's a word says we have three human. One human being is a person who cannot give nothing. He has, but he cannot give. When he dies, after his death, nobody will remember him, but people will remember that he was really mean. We have another person who is having something small, less, but he's sharing with people. After 100 years, some people will still bring a flower to his grave. That's a legacy. And we have another person who has nothing, he's really poor. We'll only remember he was born and died poor. So by the time you are in this position to give, there is a legacy that you are going to leave. Give, and don't only give food. Try to take some children to school. Try to take some children or some people to the technical institute. Try to train them on how they can fish, not only giving them fish. But I'm happy with what they've been doing. I'm happy with the colleagues who have been really working so hard to make a living to somebody. Yeah.
You have done this for several years now.
Yeah.
What are some of the success stories that you can tell Kenyans that you've been able to accomplish?
Oh wow, I thank you for that. We have some students are in the university, because this is my 9th year in the office since I started. So I have not gone that wide, but I have some students at the university, and they are really doing good. I'm happy they will achieve their life whenever God will place them. And I am happy that the widows who have been suffering and dreaming about their house, they are sleeping under a roof, and they're really thankful to God. And I've seen, last year I worked with those who, the cripple. I gave them some scratch and some other things. I see them walking, they are smiling. We have achieved a lot. We have seen a lot on grace that God has actually have been giving to us.
You've been able to scale up your operations despite the COVID-19 pandemic, but I'm quite sure there are some of the challenges that you've been able to address. What are some of those, and perhaps what are some of the models that Kenyans can pick from what you've been able to do?
Challenges, I think, is only in the governmental section. Like, for example, I've seen the police are fighting with people on mask, and this person has no money to buy mask. He only have money to buy maybe some vegetables, and you're beating this person up. You don't know the challenge that this person is going through, I wish if the government can provide things like mask, things like this washing whatever, to wash their hands, and if the government can actually help on the social distancing, because the reason why we are still having all this is that we cannot have the distance social, we cannot separate ourselves because we are looking for what we are eating tomorrow. So I'm just urging the government that this is their failure. It is good to stand up and say something in the TV station. We will listen to you. We will understand it. But what is the move? I saw, like now we are fighting against the COVID. But the politicians are meeting with millions of people by the roadside. Yeah. And after that, they are going back to their houses. They can afford the Nairobi hospital, but these people cannot afford their meal and they're dying. After the meeting that they do one day, we can have more the number of deaths which cannot be announced because nobody knows them. So I'm just urging everybody, all the sectors. I know we are in a political season, but can we find a way? If you go to America, I was there during election last year. Nobody is meeting with anybody by the street. They go to TV stations, they sell their ideas, and the people will listen to them. They go to the radio station, they sell their ideas. I can listen to your idea, even if you just talk over the radio.
Yes.
So I don't understand why we have to gather millions of people in the roads, and then the same government, some of them are doing politics, are going to the TV and announcing that we want social distancing, we have to close the church, we have to close this market. Why is it that we are closing the church and we are not closing the open campaign where we are meeting with millions of people? And this will bring many orphans. I'm telling you, the people are dying like crazy. I have an hospital, I watch people dying. People are dying with COVID. You cannot do nothing. You tried as a doctor, as a nurse, but it is beyond you.
It's true.
So, but the person who is bringing this to be too much are politicians. If I'm not lying, I'm not against that.
And we're actually hoping that they will tone down the rhetoric, because we are in a COVID pandemic, and because of the interest of time, kindly...
Can I talk about a little bit about that?
Yes, please.
I saw the Minister of Health was talking about no campaign, no gathering.
Yes, but we still...
2-3 days ago, I saw a certain politician in Nairobi with millions of people. So, which means even what the minister is saying, they're not listening to it, but they're just busy doing their campaign. So I'm sorry to say it, but we Kenyans, we need to do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
And actually the minister at some point said, you don't have to go, you're not being forced to go for that rally. So Kenyans actually need to take that. And actually, because of the interest of time, the laws that govern homes that like the ones that you operate and others, are you telling me that they're airtight enough to ensure that we do not experience cases of abuse of these vulnerable people as we wind up?
Yes, I have to talk in my organization. I am very sure about that. We don't need any abuse of any child. We have to protect them. Like I told you 3 days ago, I had a child who has been abused at home, and she ran. She just came to our school and she talked with us, and I took her in. So I will not urge any institution to have any abuse of the child, but we are requesting for the members of the community not to abuse any child, despite the fact that sometimes they are sick or they have nothing in their home. Don't abuse, because tomorrow there will be people.
Okay, final one, 30 seconds, kindly.
I will appreciate the viewers of viewing our conversation, and I will appreciate you as my best friend.
Thank you.
And I will appreciate the media that we are using now. They have been giving me platform all the time. And my word to the people of Kenya, the COVID is real and is taking us away every day. Please let's avoid all the gatherings and actually work on the guideline of the Ministry of Health. May God bless you.
Thank you indeed. That has been Newton Ogada, who is a philanthropist. And we were looking at creating hope and, of course, looking at the COVID-19 situation. The vulnerable are the worst affected. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Ben Troy Njue, and Susan Thuku has been our sign language interpreter for the show. Let's continue this conversation on the social media platform.